Welcome to Inside Neverwinter Podcast. I am your host, DJTakuya. This is my beautiful co-host, JDog. Say hello.
What's up?
Not a whole lot, just been enjoying the game, and you know the rest. Just to start things off real nicely here, let's hear a little bit about yourself, JDog. What have you been doing in-game?
Well, in-game, I'm already level 60. I've been playing a lot. It's a real fun game. I had a really nice time playing it. I'm still not done with the main quest, but I will surely finish it after they raise the level cap, if they ever do.
That's very important news. We'll get to that a little later when we get to the news from the enclave section. For now, that's your host JDog. He is level 60 Guardian Fighter. I'm level 51 Guardian Fighter, DJTakuya, and I've just been enjoying a lot of PvE sections of the game, all the dungeons and skirmishes, really trying to fit in all the content I can while I can, because it's easy to outlevel those skirmishes and miss them completely.
Yes.
But we'll break that down later when we get to the gameplay section. For now, let's get right into things with the State of the Game review. First thing we're going to mention is going to set the scene here. Neverwinter Online is a game set in the world of Feywild, the familiar home of Forgotten Realms setting, and obviously, previously the Neverwinter Nights RPGs. The game itself was developed by Cryptic Studios and published by Perfect World Entertainment. Without wasting any more time, let's just get straight into the gameplay review there. The first thing we'll break down the major sections of the game, PvE and PvP, one at a time here, first of all, and go into the depths of those as we get once we cover that. So the first thing I want to talk about is PvE gaming, and one of the mainstays of PvE games and all PvE play in all games, MMOs, is the questing. Obviously, the questing in this game is really, really good. I think.
Yes, it is.
Because
I enjoyed it very much. Not boring at all.
See, it made me want to play the game. It made me want to play the quests, and other games haven't done that. I think it has a lot to do because of the voice acting, but also because the quests they don't send you too far. They don't make you do too much, and things get kind of broken down into like you go from one quest hub where you have 3 or 4 or 5 quests, and you go 100 yards and do those. Come back and they'll give you follow-ups, and they'll take you out a little bit further, and then you have like a turn-in right there, and then you'll do those, and you'll progress through the whole zone in like no time.
Yeah.
And while there are some who kind of call that really just skimpy soloing, I just think it's minimalist. It's only what you really need.
Yeah,
and,
true.
And none of what you don't want to have in a questing environment. Now, quests is obviously the only thing to do in game as you're leveling in PvE or playing through PvE at max level. The other PvE content are the skirmishes and the dungeons. What we were talking about earlier with the skirmishes being skippable is that if you out-level the level range where you can queue for a skirmish, you basically lost the chance to play that skirmish on that character. And that
I made the mistake of doing that. I messed up a bunch right there.
So, did you get any ever? Like, how?
I got some, but I was just too busy questing all the time to, do them.
Yeah.
I mean, you get caught up in doing quests and you're past the level cap. I mean, not past the level cap. I mean, like, past the
range where you can queue for it. Because the only way to get to skirmishes is queue for them. There's not like dungeons where you can run to them manually and over-level them. Skirmishes are just the shorter content that involve so many people, and you really only get the chance to do it during leveling. And it's hard to fit all that stuff in with questing, dungeons, skirmishes, especially for the sparse 5 or so levels you can get into a skirmish, any particular skirmish. You want to get it for the achievement down the road. We're completing all of a zone's content. But it's so hard to get to that because you're doing the quest, you're doing the dungeon, you're doing that, and through all the XP means that you get with invoking all the time. If you just aren't like, if you really just are not paying attention, you'll blow through all this stuff, and there'll be plenty of stuff for the replay, which I think goes in the game's favor because you'll wind up coming back to PvE content on another character and realizing there's more to do, and you'll benefit from that so much to do kind of mentality, that feature that they have in this game.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Alright, I've kind of hogged it for PvE there, but PvP is a whole other section of the game I haven't even tasted yet. JDog, what are your words on PvP?
Well, PvP, it is 5 against 5, and the goal is there's 3 bases that you have to capture. The enemy can capture them too, but whoever has the bases for longer wins. And the max points that you need to get the win, it's the only way you can win is if one team gets to 1,000 points.
Okay, so it's a point-based system, and it's King of the Hill control to get points.
Yes.
And I've heard that there's deathmatch elements in there. Tell us about those.
Well, okay, while you're running the base to base trying to capture them, you have to fight the other team. And depending on how good you are and all your stats and stuff, it gets really hard. Like if you go up against someone that, is freaking all they do is PvP, and you're just starting it, you're just getting into it, you're most likely going to die because some people in it are just insane. I had a really hard time even at level 60. At level 60 it gets freaking horrible because, there's always people that'll be better than you and you'll just die a lot.
Do you think any of that comes from gear, or is it all just the other players being better at PvP?
Well, it comes from, knowing the 2 maps that you can play. I mean, I had a difficult time sometimes knowing where to go, but it shows you where the bases are, and the maps are very small. I mean, they're not like huge zone maps. They're just a short little map that you can run to really fast, capture the base and everything. But it does matter on gear, because like I said, if there's someone that has better gear than you, better stats, you're going to die. There's no doubt about it.
So there is some gear advantage to get from PvP gear and the simply queuing glory points to buy more gear.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. I was hoping for something a little better, but I'm not a big PvP player, so I can't say I'm terribly disappointed. I know that there are some people who are huge PvP players, and that's the main reason they play any game, and they are really disappointed about that. But
and once in a while,
that's just a make or break thing.
Yeah. And once in a while, there are these things called Gauntlgryms, which is just huge. It's like 50 people all in this huge map with the same basis of King of the Hill. You just, run at it, killing each other all over the place and stuff. And the thing about a Gauntlgrym is what you can do if your team, there's like giant food and Golem. And if you get the food for the Golem, take it to him. He can become your ally in the Gauntlgrym.
So they throw 50 players into that small map you were talking about earlier to fight for it the same way the regular 5v5s are?
No. The map is a lot bigger. It's not. It's nowhere near the regular PvP maps.
So you get an expanded. You get a different map for the Gauntlgrym PvP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after the Gauntlgrym is over, you get these dungeon things that you can do, but you can only get inside of them if you have one of 2 items. The names of those 2 items are out of my mind right now. I forget what they're called, but you need one of those 2 items to get into the Gauntlgrym dungeon.
Are they drops from
actually,
killing people, or
no?
Rewards from it?
I think it is a reward. I haven't gotten an item to get inside one, so I've only done 2 Gauntlgryms because, I was always doing other things and stuff, never had really the time to get into them. But out of the 2 that I did, I basically knew the rules and stuff from doing regular PvP. But other than that, I mean, I really don't know how to acquire the 2 items. I got mad one day because, I do the Gauntlgrym and everything, and then I go to the dungeon, I want to get in, but it won't let me because I need one of these 2 items, and that upset me a little bit. But other than that, Gauntlgrym's fun, PvP's fun. I suggest it because what you can do with the glory that you get is a currency that you use to buy equipment and stuff. Like, I'm a GF, a Guardian Fighter, and with that you can you can buy this armor called the Indomitable armor. It's a really good armor set. It's for health and other different stats.
Okay, so that's the PvP set that I've been seeing on people. Okay.
Now, there is a different set. There's two for the Gauntlgrym. There's another currency that you get. It's like Gauntlgrym coin, and what you do with that, it's called Grym coin. And what you do with that, you can buy a lot better gear from the Indomitable armor that you can get with Glory. With the Grym coins, you can get heavy Glory, which heavy Indomitable armor, which is it's insane. I've seen someone wear it before. It looks amazing, but it takes a lot of time. And that's just the
Guardian Fighter stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I haven't really.
So a lot of folks who aren't playing GFs or sitting listening to us going, well, that's great, but I don't relate to this at all. And that's okay. Yeah. Well, that sounds really, really good. I may have to rethink my policy of not doing PvP, but probably after I hit 60, so I don't miss any of that content. All right. So let's break down the gameplay features and functions here. We'll start off with your choices of races and classes. Now, the game currently has about 7 races. Excuse me. The humans, the elves, the half-elves, the dwarves and the halflings, the half-orcs, and the tieflings. And those are all pretty standard hallmark of D&D and Forgotten Realms. Yes. But one that I hadn't heard about before was the tieflings with their red skin, their horns, and their tails. They reminded me a lot of the Draenei from World of Warcraft. Not that I thought Neverwinter ripped off Warcraft, but it seemed very, very, I almost want to say comforting to see something familiar like that, like an alien race, horns and tail, and colored skin. Yeah. And of course, we also have the Drow race coming soon. Cryptic announced that the Drow race would be a premium feature that you would pay. You would buy this big pack with real money, and then you get this Menzoberranzan Renegade class. It was a different race based on the Drow, but it was the premium version, which had better looks for it. Yeah. And it promised at least 60 days after launch. That the Drow would be released. Well, it's been 60 days come and gone, and they still haven't been released yet, so no word yet on that, but they are coming, and it's been confirmed soon. And the classes, they are based on Dungeons & Dragons source classes, but they're kind of specialized versions of those classes. The original fighter class splits into a tank class called the Guardian Fighter that both JDog and I play, and it's the sword and shield, sword and board kind of class, and that's the reason we both picked it. We both play those classes in all games. Yeah. And there's also a damage class, which is a single weapon bastard sword wielding class called the Great Weapon Fighter, who specializes more in the damage. He's mostly damage, a little tanky, where the tank is mostly tanky and little damage. Of course, there's the Wizard, becomes the Control Wizard in Neverwinter. The CC Master and that pretty high damage numbers competing with the Rogue there. And it's a great all-around class. I play that as my alt with Let's Play that you may have seen if you follow the channel. And then next to last we have the Trickster Rogue, the Shadowy Stabaholic, the shadow stepping, ganking, backstabbing type of class that everyone knows and loves. Everyone knows what a Trickster Rogue is. We're gonna get different titles before that word rogue for another kind of class, so we may see more specialized versions of the classes as it goes on when we get more content. Yeah. Speaking of, we have one more class to get to, and then we'll talk about the hypotheticals. The final class to talk about is the Devoted Cleric, a healer and holy DPSer who's mostly healing and some DPS. And out of all the classes that I've seen currently in game, the ones most valued are probably the Control Wizard and the Devoted Cleric. And it probably comes down to there being a huge influx of Trickster Rogues. Yes. I think everyone and their mom plays a TR. And then GFs you only need one per group, so they need to be rare in order for them to work. So I think that's pretty inferred. I think the only other class I've seen that's rarer than the CWs and the DCs, the Control Wizard and just Devoted Cleric, has got to be the Great Weapon Fighter. I think I've run into a handful of them across leveling in 51 levels and so many dungeons and skirmishes and runs. I just cannot seem to find one to save my life. And I've heard that they do the best damage in the game. But when I look, it's always rogues and wizards first and second on the combat lists there.
Yeah.
And finally, Cryptic has announced and confirmed another class coming soon. What they've told us so far is that it's going to be a ranged class playing like a from far back, and that it's going to use that nature skill set that we've heard about. We'll talk about that a little bit in more depth as the show goes on, when we touch on the topics that it relates to. But what it's come to conjecture is that it could basically be two things. It could be the ranger class we think is coming, the archer ranger, or it could be some kind of Fey Pact warlock, some kind of dark damage dealer who has a bit of a nature element to it, which would work for me. I don't really think they're going to add a druid, because druids aren't really ranged in D&D sources, I remember. Mostly they had to deal with their animal companions, and it seems like we've already got kind of a pet thing going on with companions here. So my money's on the archer or a Fey Pact warlock, both of which sound great to me.
Yeah, they do sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really hope they add them soon.
Yeah, there's we had all hoped they would be added with the new module coming out on the 22nd of August, and it seems like Cryptic's been kind of dodgy about it, so it doesn't seem like they're going to release it then. From what I remember, they said they would have to release it like a month after or something. So that's a little bit odd to get a module, new content, but no new class, and so far no new race with it either, and apparently no level cap bump, which would be welcome, I know.
Yeah, I would love a level cap bump.
Since the levels go by so fast, you just want more of them, because it would provide a new. It would extend the leveling out, which Cryptic may not want to mess with too much right now.
Yeah, and here's another thing: if they were to boost the level cap, they would have to make higher level gear, and that would probably take a while, because if you have higher level gear, I mean, if you're a higher level and you see ya. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
You said if as you level up and they have to implement new gear.
Yeah.
Like when you add in a more higher level, about 10 more levels to the level cap, and then they have to mess with all the gear.
Yeah, because I bet people would get upset that you get a higher level but there's no new gear. I honestly, if I was in that situation, I'd be pretty upset too.
Aww.
See ya, Jillian. Bye.
Aww. Get a cute injected into our podcast.
Sure.
That's for free, folks. That one's free.
Yeah, that's free. And that's one's $500.
So that's the breakdown of all the classes and the proposed classes that we think we have. Next up on the list is combat. Neverwinter has an action RPG system without tab targeting that you used to. So sorry if you used to tab targeting to acquire a new target and a locked target. Rather, this uses a mouse targeting where you hover your reticule over the target. There is a little bit of assistance with a certain range on all around the reticule there, but mostly you do have to keep things lined up to affect your target there. And your abilities, you're locked into you're not locked necessarily, but you have a small number of abilities. Excuse me. On your toolbar to use at any given time based on the situation, and you're able to rotate those in the fly as long as they're not cooling down right now. You're able to open up your powers tab and switch ones in and out, and break down into daily powers, which are kind of the big beefy cooldowns, and you build up an action point meter to get those, and it fills up with orange light, and once it's filled you hear a sound, so you know what happened. Then there's encounter powers, slightly less powerful but usable more often. With shorter cooldowns, and those are the powers that come up in red. The daily powers come up in yellow, with kind of yellow borders and themes. And then finally you have the at-will powers, which are green, and they have almost no cooldown ever. And they're spammable pretty much, but they don't do a whole lot of damage. And the way they've done it is that you can have You can have 2 daily powers, you can have 2 at-will powers, you can have 3 encounter powers, all slotted on your UI at any given time, along with 3 slots for potions and such, and then a space for your mount. And then, of course, if you have a tab ability, that goes over there to the side too, and when you hit tab, it activates it. Now, for changing your abilities, as long as you're not cooling down, you can even in the middle of combat, as long as the current ability you're not trying to switch out is currently ticking down its cooldown, you can switch it out. And the keybinds I really like in this game because it's not 1 through 0 plus minus and equals.
I love that about this game.
Yeah, very reachable. Everything's in reach. So you'll start off with your hands on W, A, S, and D to move. Q, E, and R are all encounter abilities. Your at-will abilities are your left and mouse click by default. And then your dailies are the ones you reach up to 1 and 2 for. And then your potions 3, 4, 5, and your Mako's on 6. And if you played the game, you know that already, but it is a really great control scheme when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because tab's right there, shift is right there. Both of those they allow for a little varying in the combat controls and powers. And then your F is your interact, so anytime you're doing anything, F is right there. You just move your index finger over to F, you're already interacting, rather than hovering over your mouse and right-clicking. It feels more precise to me to have a keybind rather than a mouse click. Mainly because I think it's easier to press the button than it is to hold the mouse in a certain position and click.
Yeah.
It's to me a more fun gaming system. What do you think?
Well, I think it is a real fun gaming system. I think they did an outstanding job with it. Everything in reach, and everything that just about the controls is awesome. I mean, most MMOs you play, I mean, the controls are all over the place. I mean, it's hard to get off your special attacks. I mean,
because you'll be using WASD, and then you'll have to reach up to 1, 2, and 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you'll have like modifiers with shift, and you're supposed to like shift and 5 is crazy, and there's ways to get around it. But if you just want the simplest control scheme, that would work on a controller. So they don't support it in game, but they will show you to the website of the people who do for controller emulation of a controller in the game, so that you can use your PS3, Xbox 360 controller to have, because everything maps well. We talked about it the other day, and everything will fit on the controller. We've gotten every button that you press to do anything in combat goes on the control, and then so it's a really good control scheme. It's good combat. And the next thing on the list to talk about is Invocation. The Invocation system is something new I've seen, something newer in this game than I've seen in other games. I haven't played, mind you, more than a handful of MMOs. Most of my MMO experience is World of Warcraft. I find that Neverwinter stacks up against World of Warcraft as a free-to-play game, not as something that's necessarily bigger and better, but something that's worth more value. And to me, a lot of that for Neverwinter comes out of all its features, including Invocation. Invocation is a system where when you're building a character, you'll choose a deity that your character worships. It's part of the roleplay aspect. You can put as much attention to that or as little as you want. You could just pick one, or you could just read through and figure out which one your character would have. And it's up to you which one. And then when because the selection you have to make, they put something in here to kind of reward you for it, and that's Invocation. And anytime you're standing next to a campfire, an altar, or a portable altar that you throw down as a consumable item in your inventory, you pray to your chosen deity, and it awards you certain things. The first one of the day always awards you a buff, some rough astral diamonds, which is a form of currency in Neverwinter, a celestial coin, another currency, and an ardent coin, another currency. The first per day always pays out that, and the first per day always gives some of that stuff and some XP. You might get lucky and get XP and AD from further ones, but the first one guarantees you'll get some. I think it's a really good system because it's an hour-long basis. Every 59 minutes, you start it counts down from 59 to 0, and then once you're open, it gives you that little sound ha, and you get to invoke again. It's just a chance to get free money and a good buff.
Yeah.
Sound about right? You've gotten pretty good experience with it? Like, no complaints there?
Yeah, no complaints. I've gotten, one time I invoked, and I got, quite a bit of experience. I can't recall the number that I got, but it was quite a bit. I mean, I was low level too, so it helped me a lot.
It's I have money.
It gives you, first invoke of the day, it always gives you 1,000 AD.
Does it?
And yeah.
Like at least 1,000 or a set 1,000 and no more?
It's a set 1,000 because every day that I've been playing, I always get 1,000 the first time I invoke every day.
Okay. I haven't been paying that much attention to notate the exact amount, but that's cool. So basically 1,000 rough astral diamonds, which are the unrefined version of astral diamonds. When I started playing, I thought there was this weird thing going on with them where a rough would convert, like you would need like so many rough astral diamonds to convert to astral diamonds, but really the refinement process just takes an equal number of rough AD into regular AD. And the reason they did that is so they can set a cap on how much you can convert with that rough system, so that you can't game the system and do all the stuff that you can do in a day and then just flood the market. It controls the economy. And the economy is a big part of the game, and we will break that down into all its sections a little later.
Yeah, it is insanely big.
It's a huge game, but I really love the economy in this game. Again, first time I've ever said that about an MMO. I love this economy. Everything about Neverwinter just keeps catching my attention and reeling me in.
I mean, it blew my mind when I started playing it. I mean, I was
same here.
Blown away.
It's got everything I could have asked for. Speaking of everything I could have asked for, companions. I've never seen an MMO that gave you quite the companion system that we have in Neverwinter. In Neverwinter, every class can be a pet class because everybody gets a free companion. When they hit level 16, they get a quest to go tell you what companions are, and then you get to pick one out of the vendor ones. You know, the cleric that heals you, the man-at-arms who tanks for you, the dog who'll DPS for you, and the sellsword who pure DPS. They're all niches, and you can check them out when you get that quest. But when you pick it out, it's the first one's always free, and it maxes out at level 15. But there's really, from what I've heard, not any boost that's worth getting. From what I can tell, it's certainly not worth necessarily the money you would sink in to promote it. And that's, of course, astral diamonds, not real-world currency, to grow a very common level 15 max to one that can max up at 30. It's not worth the astral diamonds. You would sink into that. But if you really care to, the option's there. Of course, everybody gets that quest at level 16, and there's more purchasable from the cash shop with Zen, another currency that's purchasable with real-world money. And of course, you can buy the rest of the ones that were offered you with that quest with gold, 2.5 gold, whenever you get that much. And when you get level 16, that's a lot of money. But when you start getting to level 30, level 40, that becomes a drop in the bucket. You can afford that easy. I went back. I chose the dog first time around because I thought I've got healing myself down. I've got my damage reduction down. I just need a pet who can deal out the damage, and the dog was what seemed to have done it for me. And then I kind of second thought it again. When I got to level 30, I maxed out my dog, and I thought I really want to try out the cleric because I really want that help and not to have to drink so many potions. So I got the cleric. And I haven't really changed since, except for a couple of situations where I wanted just the extra DPS. But you have the option. And that's something no other MMO's ever given me, as a sword and sword character, to have somebody fighting alongside me who's not a player, who's just there to heal me. Yeah. Of course, it's all relative. It's not game breaking or anything to have your companion, but it is convenient. Anything to add?
I have 3 companions. I have, like you said, the dog. I have a devoted clerk, and I have a jagged dancing blade. Which I got the jagged dancing blade from one of my friends. He really didn't want it, and he had really no idea what it did and anything. So he just gave it to me up front, and I was like, "Yeah."
He didn't want a 100k AD pet. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
that
I was like,
expensive.
Yeah, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I'll just take this off your hands." And so he gave it to me, and I equipped it and everything, which is probably a mistake. I should have probably sold it on the AD market. I don't even use it. I use my devoted clerk all the time because, you know, once you get higher levels, man, stuff starts chunking your health away like it's nothing. And
you will get messed up.
Yeah, you will die a lot of times in Neverwinter, no doubt about it. But like I was saying, with the jagged dancing blade, when I equipped it, I looked at the stats and everything, and I was like, "Oh, this ain't that bad." But then I got it in the combat, and sometimes
you see your the damage it does.
Yeah, sometimes your companions don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a problem with that with my dog, because I equipped my dog at some points, and, I wanted to go fight something, but he's just standing there running around, not attacking anything, while I'm getting my butt beat, and that's a flaw that I think the companions have. I mean, it's a pretty big one considering, you want your companion to help, but,
Mm-hmm.
if it's just standing there not doing anything, it's
Yeah, I
kind
have
of a
mine get stuck
problem.
a lot. I know what you're talking about. Where
Yeah.
they won't move, they won't attack anything. That is something that needs to get fixed because not having it deal out as much damage as another player
Mm-hmm.
isn't such a big deal to me. But not having it with a decent AI to it to know what to fight and what to do,
Yeah.
when to do it, it seems kind of it seems kind of not in line with the rest of the game. Everything else, from what we can tell, has been really well thought out and really well made, and that just seems
Yeah.
that just seems not almost not up to par. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned that because not everything's perfect, and we want to cover
Mm-hmm.
as much realism as we can. One of the other positives that has one of the positives about this game that has some more kind of fallout like that is the Foundry system, which is
Mm-hmm.
where you create user-generated content, you create your own campaigns in the spirit of original D&D, and so you can create an adventure for your friends to play through, and you get rewards for playing through other people's campaigns. So you have this incentive to go out and do them, so they will so that there's incentive for more people to make them. So it's a cycle there. It's
Mm-hmm.
really it's really one of the it's really one I know it's one of the things that drew me to the game because I was looking for a decent game and I was playing a completely different game at the time. I wasn't playing World of Warcraft, I was playing something else. And I looked at that and I thought that seems perfect. That's exactly what I want in the game because of what all I'm going to do in this game. In any game, that would be the perfect game to set things up in because it has that Foundry.
I mean, and
So,
another thing about this game is
mm,
you don't have to pay a cent.
right, all completely
You
free,
can end up doing all the work yourself without paying 1 cent of your own money.
completely free to
That's
play.
Yeah, that's it. That is what I love about this game. There is options to buy things with Zen, like special companions and special mounts,
Hmm.
but you really don't need that because it's kind of just for show. I mean, the mount may be a little bit faster, the companion may be a little bit stronger, but in the aspect of not having to pay a cent of your own money to actually get good in this game,
Hmm.
that's really what I love.
Hmm. And the Foundry's another part of that. You don't pay a dime to create stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a positive in my book. Now I know that carried over a little bit from Star Trek Online. I never played that game, but I know that's where initially they came up with it. They probably
Mm-hmm.
knew this Neverwinter was coming and decided to try it out in Star Trek and say,
Yeah.
will people use this, and what will they use it for, and what could be the problems to decide if they wanted it in Dungeons and Dragons. Because while I'm sure it was a very cool addition to Star Trek Online, Dungeons and Dragons is probably the exact game that needed a Foundry that the Foundry needed to be in. And
Yeah.
I personally love Foundry Adventures. Just knowing that someone else took the time to make an adventure sets it apart from dev created stuff, from all the
Mm-hmm.
content that you go through in leveling and through playing in dungeons and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the Foundry adventures are scalable and made so that you can bring in you and your friends, or just you, or whatever kind of group you want to roll with. You're welcome in the
Yeah.
Foundry to play, and it'll just scale up with whoever you've got with who you've got with you. Uh,
Yeah.
a funny story is that me and JDog went in there with him as level 16 at the time. I was level 40 something, and I just kept getting kicked in the
Yeah.
trash, man,
Yeah.
because we went in together. These dudes were all level 60. They weren't like in middle of the road. They were just up to level
Yeah.
60, and if they hit me with one hit, they were going to take out all of my health. So if I took even two hits, I would be dead. And I
Mm-hmm.
did die a couple times in that foundry, but it's not a perfect system for scaling. I'll be the first to tell you that it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't scale perfectly to let you go in with whoever you want to go. Like me and JDog are friends, and we didn't become friends because of anything other than he was max level and he wanted to come out and help out with this dungeon we were doing at low level, and he ran us through it, made it easy for us, and we became friends. We started doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
together and got to know each other, and
Yeah.
that's how it worked. But
It was a magical moment I will never forget.
it would be nice if we could go into something and I wouldn't have to worry about getting just crapped on. by the mobs since I'm lower level. But I'm almost 60, so it's for me it's not an issue. But I'm sure we'll have other friends who are lower level characters, and they will want to not get crapped on too. And I will not want them to be crapped on. So I'm hoping.
I mean, in Neverwinter, I help people all the time.
Yeah.
Like, since I'm max level, I really don't have that much to do.
Humble brag.
I mean, I still have some main quests to do, but I just don't want to do it that much because there's just so much other stuff you can do, get sidetracked on and everything.
Right.
Like with the PvP, you know, some people are religious to that stuff. I mean,
and your gear progression is a big thing.
I mean, right now I'm trying to max out my character, and I gotta tell you, it is freaking hard.
Right, because once you get to max level, the game changes from leveling progression to gear progression, and so your gear score becomes your level, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you can hit max level and have some 5,000 gear score points to add by adding more and more purple gear from tier 2 and so forth.
Yeah.
And that's always been present in MMOs. I don't really look forward to that, but really the game for me isn't in the gear progression. Because gear progression isn't as fun to me as level progression or power progression, where you unlock new powers and put points into them and so forth. But
true.
I guess I can't have everything, and that's something I'm already used to, so I'm not complaining about it too much. But it would be nice if the gear progression were not shorter, but maybe it wasn't so inflated. Because when you get to max level with your regular stuff, like I said, you can be like 5k behind the quote unquote appropriate or the good gear scores, so it can be a little bit of work when you hit the max level just to get something decent. But I haven't gotten there yet. I just know from my previous experience in other games what it was like and what I hear from zone chat all day long.
And you
go right ahead. No, you had something to say. Let's go ahead and hear it.
And another thing is how unbelievably easy it is to level in this game. Like, it is easy. Like, if you were to be playing for, like, say, 2 weeks straight, you'd probably hit max level. I mean,
definitely, and you wouldn't
just doing the main quest. I mean, when I hit like level 40 and like 50 up in there, I was the quests give you so much experience, and there's just so much in one zone. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, you kind of have to work not to level. Like if you don't want to level too fast, like if you want,
you'll miss stuff. Like, you know, the skirmishes and stuff. You'll miss them if you level too fast. I mean, you want to take it slow, but it's just so easy to level in this game.
Right. There's so much to do, and with my experiences, if you want to fit in those skirmishes so that you don't level them, and you can come back to the dungeons, but if you want to get everything at the level when you get it, and before you hit the epic versions, so that you've at least seen it before, you really have to kind of go, nope, don't go over there, don't aggro that, because that's not for this quest, that won't give us any benefit, that'll just make us level faster. It's almost the exact opposite of what we've had before with games of it's like, well, I guess I better, I'm at a quest mob, so I guess I better pull these packs until I'm done, and they give me an FXP, and you spend all evening and get like 1 level. Here, if you spend all evening leveling, you'll get like 10 or 15 levels.
Yeah, it is insane. And like you said with Epic, I have to tell you, you gotta have a lot of free time to do an Epic dungeon. You better make sure that you at least have 30 to 45 minutes to where you're not doing anything but that dungeon. Because Epic dungeons take a long time. From experience, I mean, if you get a good group, it normally takes probably 30, but I always get picked with the worst of the worst. Like, they don't heal, they don't do nothing, and they end up all quitting before we even get to the end, because it's just so time-consuming with them dungeons, them epic ones.
Hey man, what's with this bug where I have 9 other idiots on my team and we lose the battleground? Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's the luck of the draw, which to me is incentive to get the guild up and going, and we don't have so many pugs going on. We don't know people.
I mean, same thing.
To get like 10 or so people to level 60, and then we all just kind of rotate in and out for dungeons and stuff just when we can. But the pugs in every game kind of stink. But at least in Neverwinter, if you have people who who know about it that you can use the voice chat system, because the voice chat system's built in, and it's better than other games, to where it's almost just like built-in Ventrilo. And whoever you're partied with, that's who you can talk to, as long as they know how to do it, of course. Because the game doesn't go out of its way to explain it to you. You kind of have to go into all the settings and find out what each button is. On second thought, I do remember like one prompt telling me about the press to talk button, but that's about it.
I mean, and here's one thing. I gotta tell you, the tutorial in this game is short. Like, it is so
in and
short.
out, it's 10 minutes done.
Yeah. I mean, the tutorial is probably the shortest tutorial I've ever seen in an MMO before.
All right.
I mean, it is just short.
Okay. Well, we did kind of cover everything else. I do want to touch on 2 quick topics, because we're getting on the last end of things, and we've got a lot more to get to. So we talked a lot about the gear progression and gear itself. Gear is either crafted via professions, or you get it from a drop in a dungeon or solo, and they're also sold from vendors. And many vendors will sell decent green and blue gear for leveling. You can buy them with both gold and astral diamonds, and then there are also the gear vendors who sell gear for the seals that you get, the different kind of like badges in WoW, just the tokens of currency that drop off of bosses. And it doesn't take too long, in the natural progression of things of just doing it to level, you'll get enough money to buy a couple pieces if you really want to. And those pieces right now are BOE, so you can sell them if you want the money.
Yeah.
Enchantments are another thing to talk about for gear progression, because enchantments are a huge part of gear progression.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Instead of enchanting being a profession in this game, they're loot items, something that drops that you pick up. And the way it works is they have different ranks, and each rank of the enchantment levels up as you fuse 4 of the previous rank together. So if you start out with level 1 enchantments and you get a stack of 4 of those, you can double click those and it will take you to a fusing prompt, and you will just click the fuse button and it puts them together, and if you get lucky, they turn to rank 2. If you get 4 rank 2s together, they turn into a rank 3. And the number crunching turns into just huge amounts of ranks 1 to make a max level rank 8.
Yeah.
And that's just for the ones that do that. There are the higher level ones they're just 1 rank, and they're purple, and they're for gear and weapons, and they're higher levels. And those have special slots. They're colored purple for those slots on gear. It's kind of like in the gemming in World of Warcraft. It's gear that you craft. If you have enough boosts in the quality of crafting, you can get it to where it has a slot built onto it if it's a blue. And of course, lots of blues drop that have slots on them, just luck of the draw, and that's where you would put those enchantments. The downside is that they cost astral diamonds to remove them, and it's a relatively huge cost for an enchantment. Yeah. So it's almost discouraging you to use anything higher than like rank 2 until you get to max level and get your purples.
Yeah, I made that mistake a few times because, I really didn't know that much of the game when I was leveling, and the first time I made a rank 5, I immediately put it on my armor, which was the biggest mistake I could have did.
Right, you want that boost that it provides, but when it's an item that's quickly replaced, it almost becomes a waste of that enchantment.
Yeah. I mean, and unless you're rich and freaking astral diamonds, like a rank 5, depending on which rank 5 it is, it takes like over 50,000 AD to remove.
Yeah,
and it ain't easy getting 50,000.
Yeah, so it's well worth it to invest them wisely, and that's just my rule of thumb. Anything that I'm still leveling, I either put 1 or 2 in and then I'm done, because it's not going to be with me long enough. Although I have noticed that as I leveled, I'm getting fewer drops, so those enchantments are going to last a little longer.
Yeah.
But to me, that didn't make up for the fact that it still costs a lot. So usually I don't slot, so I haven't slotted any higher level enchantments, and I'm getting them to about rank 5, almost rank 6. And I've got a bunch of them, so I need to go fuse them and see what I can get. But there's also a good market for that in the economy for enchantments, so that's another way to make good money in this game. That looks like all the gameplay features we focus on. The next section is about the graphics, and the look of this game is about on par with other current MMOs. It may take some tweaking with settings to find a sweet spot for your system, but it has the most detailed tooltips that I've seen for helping you figure out what settings need to be fiddled with and adjusted. I've never had a game quite explain each one to me like that, where it just says decreasing this can do this. This is useful in systems that have this spec. Well, I can look at my spec and go, oh, okay, I don't need to mess with that. I'm good. I can put that up, put that down, whatever. It did the best job at helping me figure out what I wanted to put up and down. And I spent the other night playing with it, and everything looks great in the game for me and for my system. It runs well. It's got a really good, to me, it's got really good customization. I'm sure there's somebody who says, blah blah game has better and you suck. Well, sorry, I didn't play that game. Probably because it costs money. But
we all about the free to play, man.
Yeah, dude. Just the fact that they don't ask you to pay $20 to start, $15 for a subscription, just that just takes that whole thing down and makes me go, okay, you didn't make me do all this, so I'm not gonna go all this quest had a bug and this game is broken. No, it does need some tweaking, but that's why it's free to play. It's for you to tell them, hey, this can be fixed. It's almost like a beta, but it's not really, because
yeah, I mean, honestly,
you get what you pay for.
Neverwinter has not been out for that long.
Right, 2 months, almost 3.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for a game that's free to play, it's not that long. It has come a long way from the beta. I mean, I played the beta, and it is not.
Neverwinter, as it stands, is not a huge time sink.
Yeah.
You won't. And that's either positive or negative depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Looking at it from traditional MMOs, take a long time to level, and it's worth your time to do all that. Or you're tired of MMOs taking that long to get you progression and character progression. You can level a character in 2 weeks. Well, that's personal preference there. To me, I go with the latter. I like if the progression takes shorter time, then that to me it feels like they're not milking me, which is what I have a huge problem with in pay-to-play MMOs. But the graphic settings, like we're getting at here, they're not all the best of system, but they don't suck. They look decent, and it uses a render scale slider and a graphics slider for the basic settings, and of course you can activate the advanced settings that will turn the graphics slider in for 4 different headings of multiple advanced settings to customize the look of the game. And I really advise you to try out all the settings to get the most out of your experience in Neverwinter. That's something that's worth your time, I think. It was well worth it for me, because now everything looks great. I'm so much more enamored with it. It's almost one of those things where if it looks crappy, you don't want to play it. But if it looks, if it breaks your system just to play it, you also don't want to play it because you won't get the good frame rate. This game did a good job of balancing the performance with the looks, and it looks decent, and it runs well, and it doesn't take away from the performance.
And it's just a downright super smooth game. I mean, unless you have like a really, really crappy PC,
right?
This game will run good on your computer.
I know what it takes to get the game running to where it's even slowest, and it does take a very old system. Moving on to the economy. The economy is a big topic, so we've broken it down into several sections. The first of which we'll talk about are the currencies you can spend in the economy. The player-based economy is the only currency that the players trade in anything for is Astral Diamonds. You could argue that they trade in Zen, but really they're trading Zen for Astral Diamonds, and they're not really trading Zen for Zen. They're trading everything is Astral Diamonds, and everything's about Astral Diamonds when you're going for services and stuff from vendors. Consumables and things from vendors like your professions kits, which we'll talk about later, and your potions and such, those are all costing gold, and like we mentioned before, the companions cost gold. That's kind of that's a vendor only thing for something that's not going to be ever dealt by humans. And some mounts are available for gold, and they are tradable on a small market on the auction house, but most of your in-game dealings, gold is really more there to keep you you buying your vendor mats for professions, your injury kits for if you happen to get killed, your potions and stuff. That's what gold's there for. Astral Diamonds are there for trading with other players and for buying things off other players, as well as some of the higher. They're there to kind of keep that stuff out of the hands of gold sellers and stuff. And so that becomes the main currency of the game. is something you earn through playing the game, as well as something that's awarded to you if you play the market. The other currencies that you would need in the game are Ardent and Celestial coins. You get those from invoking, like we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You have certain things you can buy with those, and they're a different system. The Ardent coins are the ones that you can get up to 7 of, because you'll get one for one every day that you invoke.
Mm-hmm.
But they're on a limited time basis, so they expire if you don't use them and if you don't log in for a day and 5 minutes. That's 29 hours is the max that you can go without logging in and invoking to lose your Ardent coins. And those Ardent coins are they just buy some small things, so it's not a whole lot. You don't lose all your progression or all your you don't feel like quitting the game if you don't make your Ardent coins.
With the Ardent coins, there's like potions you can buy. Nice. There's a profession kit.
Right.
There's.
It takes 5 of those to get the professions kit, I think, and 7 of them to get the last thing on it. Goodness gracious, I can't remember what the last one is in that progression, but it's one of those currencies that basically rewards you for playing. So it's just free rewards for playing the game, and to me, I think if you reward your players for playing and are free to play, that keeps them coming back, and that's how free to plays work. The free players support the paying players, so the paying players have people to run content with, content to run, and other people will test their stuff for them, and that's the trade-off you make when you play a free-to-play game. And the other currency are Celestial coins. They're the ones that you can accrue much of, and you won't lose them if you don't log in for 29 hours. But they are the coins that you can accrue up to 500 of, and since the game's only been out for so long, no one has 500 yet. You only get one per day. The most people would be having are 60 or about that much. And they're useful for purchasing just about everything. You can purchase some potions. There's pets, companions, mounts and stuff you can buy with those later on the higher you get. So it's worth your time to save those, but some people will buy dies with them and sell them for quick AD, and that's their preference. It's however you want to play it. The vendors who sell gear use seals. The seals are like badges, but they're seals of the lion, which is like the first level to like level 30. The manticore, which is like 30 to 59. Pegasus, which is like tier 1, and unicorn drake, which are kind of like tier 2. But they're just tiered advances to the gear progression you can get. And the only other currencies that you use in game are the bounty items that you get from questing. And the way that works is each zone basically has a story of who's opposing you and your faction of Neverwinter. And so you get these drops from questing that are like just currencies from those people. And so you'll turn those into the bounty master to get either a seal for current content. So you can buy one seal with 40 of those bounty items, which sounds like a lot, but those things drop like left and right. So quest for 30 minutes and you'll have 40. Not exactly 30 minutes, but you get the point. It's really easy to get them. They're free. What do you care? Really, that's what it comes down to. It's like, why would you complain? And those are soon going to become a currency item on the currency tab. More news on that when we get to news from the enclave. Just a couple more things in the economy section. We have the professions. The professions are a unique crafting system with its own separate inventory. So you have your bags that you get your questing and stuff, and all your enchantments and your gear and so forth. Anything that you collect from there in your inventory. And then on a second inventory tab, you have all your profession stuff, and you have like 200 slots for all your profession stuff.
Yeah, that profession bag is huge.
Yep.
Like, I'm max level. I've been playing for a long time, and I still haven't filled it up all the way.
Yep. And it's meant so that you can accrue whatever you can from these profession notes. And this is one of those things that makes each class in Neverwinter both unique and fun, because each class in Neverwinter, save for the fighters because they share one, have their own individual kind of node they can gather, and they're denominated that way. The two kinds of fighters, the Guardian Fighter and Great Weapon Fighter, they use Dungeoneering nodes, and so anything sparkling that says press F to interact, Dungeoneering required, well, that's for fighters, and it will reward you when you activate a node with either some enchants, some profession mats, and just different things that help you. And so it goes, the fighters have Dungeoneering, the Control Wizard has Arcana, the Devoted Cleric has Religion, and the Trickster Rogue has Thievery. There's another one that's not being used by any class, which is where the nature-based class is going to be coming in, and it's the Nature. And so everyone right now needs their Nature kit to collect those. And Nature and Profession kits are just kits that let you access nodes from other classes' accessibility. So if you're not, if you're a control wizard, you have Arcana, but you don't have Dungeoneering, Religion, and Thievery and Nature. Well, if you're playing control wizard, you would buy the kits for those, and if you come across those nodes, you can consume them for a 75% chance to loot those nodes for the stuff that was in it, which can start some fights in group content, but most times it's just first come first serves and things, so it pays to be at the front of the pack or always paying attention for that kind of thing. And to Cryptic's benefit here, they put a lot of these kits and nodes in out of the way where you don't see them immediately. So you do get rewarded for exploring and looking around the room before you leave it. So that was one of the things that locked me into the game, because I started playing and I'm naturally that way. I check corners and look for loot, and I used to never find it. Well, now in Neverwinter, I find it on the nodes. And that's how professions work. You'll gather the stuff through there, and you will get some stuff that drops off bosses because it's like rare dust or whatever. And you go to your professions tab, and you can pick any profession you want. There's professions that craft your gear. There's based on what class you are, and there's professions that craft potions and alchemy. And you have leadership, and they're all. That's for a whole other podcast, but they're all in depth and it's very unique. I've never seen anything quite like it. Other MMOs have you go out into the world, pick at a node with your pickaxe and get some ore and refine it and into bars and then smash those bars into some gear. Here you just all manage it from that tab. You can just stand in the city and send your minions out to get stuff. That's how it works. Is that you get these assets that are basically people, and you set them to certain tasks. So when the time comes up, they're finished with it, you get back the rewards from it, and you'll proceed. And like I said, that's something we'll get into probably in another podcast. If we have nothing else, we'll do it next week, because that's going to be that's a lot to talk about when we talk about professions and nodes and stuff.
Yeah, that is a big segment of the game right there.
The inventory in the game, you basically start out with a 30-slot bag. You get a free 18 slot and a free 12 slot through the early questing up to about level 30. And then but you have all 5 of your bag slots open at character creation. So immediately you have access to them. But you don't necessarily get bags. The way that works is they sell 24 slot and 12 slot bags with real money currency with Zen on the cash shop. And you're able to buy those for about $6 or $12 for the 12 and 20, $6 and $10, excuse me, for the 12 slaughter and 24 slaughter, respectively. And so there's a little bit of money to be made if you have real money with Astral Diamonds, buying those and selling them for Astral Diamonds on the auction house. Which leads us to the cash shop itself, which uses Zen. When you buy Zen, you purchase it from Perfect World Entertainment. They're the ones who use Zen. And you exchange 100 Zen per dollar you spend. And you can do $5, $10, $20, $50 in yours to buy Zen. And that gives you 500, 1,000, 2,000, and so forth. And there are also special offers on the website to get free Zen, but I don't advise you check those out because they're all basically surveys that they make their money on gathering information.
They don't work.
But if you want to do them, if you really want to take a chance on them, go right ahead. But I
tried. I put virus on my computer before. They're not really that safe to use.
Yeah. Do that with other websites either. Half the time I wouldn't even get the currency promised to do it, so I was like, why bother with it then?
Because I tried to do it a few days ago. I get like these daily ones that I could do for like 95 and like 112 Zen.
Right.
But I do them, and at the end of it, it magically says I'm not eligible. So I'm like, well, this is bull. I'm never doing this again. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I basically had the same experience. The positive side is that if you want to get some Zen to buy either some of the services that are sold in the cash shop, or maybe if you want to save up to get a mount or a companion or something, you can. You don't necessarily need to spend $1 of your real world money if you don't wish to, because the in-game auction house and market, Astral Diamond market, has an exchange for Astral Diamonds to Zen. So someone else will buy Zen, and how it works is it's basically like the stock market. You purchase, you can spend your Astral Diamonds to purchase Zen for a set price, and then later on, if the selling price of the Astral Diamonds to Zen goes up, so if you get more Zen for your AD, then you can then sell your more AD for your Zen in this case. So you can then sell your Zen for a profit of AD overall. It's basically, from what I can tell, the best way to make money in the game, but it's also because of the investment, because the amount of investment you have to make is relatively small. I personally prefer it that way. I think that's a tick in the game's favor, that you're able to trade for that currency, and that it's kind of like you can become if you have good knowledge of economics, then you're golden. You're made in the game.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on economy, professions, inventory, cash shop, currencies, Astral Diamonds?
Before we move on? Did we talk about all the different kinds of seals?
I did mention them briefly. To me, they don't bear a whole lot of touching on, but there's 5 different types, and they basically level up with you.
Yeah,
and so when you hit a certain level, you'll start getting a new kind of seal.
Yeah, there is Manticore seals, Drake seals, Unicorn seals, Pegasus,
and the starter one is Lion.
And Lions.
And it goes in progression from Lion to Manticore to Pegasus to Unicorn to Drake.
And the only way you can get those is by doing dungeons.
Not the only way. You can buy them with the Celestial coins.
Oh, I did not know. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's like four seals for a Celestial coin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're desperate for seals, log it in Invoke. And again, this just feeds into the economy. There's so much you can do in this game, and there's so many ways it ties in.
Without spending a cent of your own.
You just get rewards for playing the game. Okay, that about does it for our state of the game experience. Overall, I'd say Neverwinter is well worth your time. It doesn't need to be worth your money because you don't have to spend any. I spent a little bit, but that's because I would have missed it anyway, and it was something that was going to become shortly unavailable to me anyway, so I decided to go ahead and spend it and see what I could get out of it, and I was really satisfied. It gave me, to me, a lot for my money. Any thoughts on that, JDog?
I think we have
hit all the bases.
I think I've said everything.
Okay, well, and it's time to get to news from the Enclave. We're a little bit over time here, so we'll get through this as quick as possible. All right, news from the Enclave is our news section where we cover all the latest news in the world of Neverwinter, Inside Neverwinter, and give you all the latest updates from the website, from the forums, and from the devs. Now, the latest news comes about the Fury of the Feywild module coming next week, Thursday, August the 22nd. That's the first module that's come out. We had some other content come out, but we haven't a full-fledged module for us to play through with new quests and everything. So some of the new stuff that's coming is a salvage system, and that's going to be a system where if you have old purple gear, your epics at max level, you're able to turn that into the salvage NPC for some rough Astral Diamonds. It just gives you something back for having that gear in the first place. And it makes that just a little less, a little more worth your time and a little less punishing.
Thank the Lord, I have so much purple gear in my bank. My bank is filled.
Hold on to it. Definitely hold on to it. Find ways to hold it in your mail or something, because there's definitely cause to hold on to that because of the rough AD you can get. There's also changes to the dungeon event chests. They're basically the way things work in your dungeon delve events now are if an event comes up, events are timed, and that was supposed to be part of the special events. I'm sorry we skipped over it. But the way it works is that you have basically an hour of time, and it rotates every hour. Something new is coming up every hour. And when you get to the Dungeon Delves event, you get special reward chests at the end of the dungeon for doing it during that event. And the way it works is that it used to drop a piece of gear that was bind on equip, and that's the way it's currently on live as of the 17th today. And the way it's going to work come the Fury of the Feywild is that the gear that comes out of there is going to be BOP. meaning that anything you get out of that chest will not be sellable on the auction house. It'll be bound to you. That works. That's kind of in the same league as the salvage system because it's going to drop gear that you can presumably salvage. Also, it kind of curtails that a whole part of the market where you can get gear that you don't need just to sell it. That's a part of the economy. So that's a change that's coming up. A lot of people aren't happy about it. Personally, I don't find anything wrong with that. I think that's a step in the right direction.
Well, I kind of have a problem with that, but that's my own personal problem.
Well, there's lots of ways to make money, and you're very versatile, JDog. I know all the money you can make with your enchants and stuff, and you love to make money, so that's
Dude, at one point when me and DJ were playing, I'd always ask him if he had any enchantments he didn't want. I was making so much money off of enchantments.
Yep.
Yeah, I made an insane amount. I made
that's why I hoard them now.
30,000 off of enchantments.
Yeah, that's good money. Some other PvP changes. Rejuvenation potions will no longer be usable in PvP. They had a problem with PvE potions sneaking past that rule of only PvE potions that could be used. There was a rejuvenation potion that was doing that, getting to be working in PvP, so they changed that. There are some class balance changes. Some powers are getting nerfed for some classes. Some classes are getting their sets nerfed, and we can talk more about that the next time. We can kind of go into some depth there for news from the Enclave for our next week's show. The couple more things that we have here. Bounty items in the currency bag, like I mentioned earlier. The change that's coming up is when you pick up something like that, it will change to your currency bag. And they are expanding your currency bag to 36 slots. I think right now it's 18, maybe 20 something like that. But it is changing and expanding. It's getting bigger. Now you're going to non-augment companions to rank 30 passive powers. There are some companion changes, aiming for the better, but again, it's controversial, so we'll talk about that next week. Searchable Foundry tags are coming. Our online gateway, which we'll go into depth of next time as well. A lot of stuff I've got to make sure on next week's show. Inventory and Zen Markets, Zen pages on the gateway. Previously, the web page gateway that you're able to use to access your professions and set tasks and retrieve rewards had some stuff that players felt was missing, so Cryptic has now added an inventory page and a Zen Market page so that you're able to kind of access everything that you should be able to access from the website gateway, which I found is really convenient to not to have to log in to change things on your professions. And lastly, the last highlight here that coming into on the module Fury of the Feywild is the LFG and trade chat channels. Right now on live we have only one channel going on, a Protector's Enclave for chat, and that's the Zone channel. With this change, we'll have a channel for forming groups called LFG, and we'll have a channel for commerce called Trade to get that want to trade so much for out of the Zone chat and kind of clean things up so we don't have so much going on there. One of the worst things about chat was the mix of everything, just scrolling everyone's message past each other, so you would get even players just spamming things up just to make sure it was seen. So hopefully this puts an end to that. That's what I really want to see.
Yeah, me too.
Any thoughts on all that, JDog?
Not really. You said it all. You're the big cheese.
I have the web page open, so I kind of just go point by point. That's how I make my show notes, and that's how I read the web page.
The only complaint that I kind of have is how at the end of the dungeon delve, the chest, the stuff being bound. I really don't understand that fully, but that's my own opinion. And
well, you've also got to look. That's a good point. You've got a very complicated market with that going on, because the more popular classes, their gear will always sell for more. So, what if we were playing rogues and our gear was constantly getting stolen from us, to sold, or how would we feel on our own gear prices being inflated if we're not a popular class, because we can't purchase decent gear on the auction house because there's none available. But the problem with the pricing comes from other people's classes have less valuable gear because there's more of it, but that drives our prices up somehow. I realize that's not quite economically sound.
Yeah.
But I am wanting to point out that there are consequences for every change you make, and I think this was made with the intention of changing it for the better, and it seems to me to be heading in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree it's not necessarily perfect, and it certainly hasn't been going over very well with the fans. Everyone's been reacting very negatively to the fact that we can't sell our gear that we get from Dungeon Delves for quite so much anymore.
Yeah, but you know, you can still sell it and get a few gold, some silver for it. Can you still do
That's
that?
a good
Can you
point.
still? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
vendors. It's still vendors. I mean, vendoring's kind of the last resort for me. But if you gotta get something, you gotta get some benefit out of it. That's the way to do it. All right, looks like that's all the time we have today. We're only 10 minutes over time, so yay, we did it. We did a show in almost
air high five.
Perfect. Yes, internet 5-5.
Yeah.
JDog, you got anything else to plug or promote before we head on out today?
Not really. I mean.
Okay. Find us both on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube on my channel here, DJTakuya. You can find JDog on his channel, Justin Votel. Let's find that in searching Justin Votel in the YouTube search. That's going to do it for us today. Looks like we have a podcast in the can there. I hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you for listening in to Inside Neverwinter with DJ and JDog. Looks like that's our cue to head on out and have a great night. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
See ya.